Hello everybody, Mr. Pilgrim here, coming at you with the last video of our Platinum Trophy Guide for the Ratchet & Clank remake on PS4. In the last video, we'd gone through and collected some things, as well as going back to get any and all remaining collectibles, items, and trophies before the end of the game. So now we're back on the deplanetizer, as you can see just by the layout, a pretty short map like before. The only difference is now there's a couple more things that we can do while we're here, and as well you will also need to finally use the hollow guys or the cork gun that you'll get from Kalibo 3. So from here, basically how it will work is you will just use it as a way of turning into cork to fool the robots and things like that. As you'll see right here, the tutorial will go over all that good stuff. So do be careful, as that will instantly kill us. So as we're going through the level, it's pretty easy for the majority of it.
You're looking smashing today.
Best way I found to deal with the enemies once they figure you are you is just to use the Peacemaker. It's probably the best weapon for it, as it will instantly defeat pretty much all of the enemies.
You look very heroic today.
As you'll see, you can't get pulled out of the disguise by enemies or anything like that. It'll just have to be based on you willingly leaving it. As you'll see, not too hard to go through. As well, this is the previous area that had the first gold bowl, which you can get on your first run through the deplanetizer. As you'll see, just knowing patterns and things like that will help you get through this a lot quicker. Certain enemies you'll probably want to wait until they move like so, then reactivating, and then figuring out where the switch is, of course, is always going to be helpful. Another weapon to use would be probably the Krubatron, as that will stop enemies from touching it, as you'll see. Just like so. Now, if you happen to run out of Peacemaker ammo, you can always go all the way back to the beginning and buy more ammo, like so. So in this room, you'll actually have to come up here, have a bit of a climbing section. I highly recommend having the hollow guys equipped and ready to go. And there'll be this enemy who'll come through, and after a bit you should be able to immediately jump up. Just like that. As you can see, though, it's not too hard coming through using this. Falling also doesn't do anything, so you can keep that in mind. Like before, I've said, if you can, try and level up any and all weapons. Like I said, whatever helps, you know. But eventually, once you are through and have defeated most of the enemies, as you'll see, can move on to the next area, which will be just over here. And also do note, it's in this next room will be where you find the next gold bolt. Once again, switching back to the hollow guys.
Welcome, Captain.
So, like always, whatever works best for you to do this is always the safest option, of course. But once you're sure that you have defeated all of the enemies in the area, or have that happen. Alright, so once you're certain that you have defeated all enemies, you can then come up here onto the left side. On your first playthrough, these bars aren't loaded in for some reason. It's a little weird. But from here, you can then finally come and grab the last gold bolt of the game. 28 out of 28. That will get you a trophy in itself. Then from here, we can move on to the next trophy, which is actually going to be not directly ahead of us, but off to our left, or to our right, I should say. But from here, you'll have another hallway area to go through.
No autographs. What is on, Captain?
But from here, there will probably be 2 more trespassers that you'll have to do.
Welcome, Captain.
In this room, you'll have to go through a magna boot area, so do be careful not to take any damage here, as that will actually knock you out and kill you. Just take it nice and slow, as you'll see. And then boom, just like that, you are on the other side. We'll restock on ammo, because that is definitely an important thing.
Captain.
As I'm sure you already know, the main goal here is just to use Groovatron into whatever weapon we are trying to level up. Like always, if you have to throw down a disco bomb grenade, get everybody all dancing. Now this fight will probably be the longest that you will have to do in the game in terms of defending a single room from enemies. But as you'll see, you basically get a bunch of weapon or ammo and things for your weapons, so you should be good for the most part. Shouldn't have to worry too much about running out of ammo. As you'll see though, the Groovy Bomb definitely saves a bunch in these rooms for sure. You'll also have a ammo generator box, but here you should have the second to last trespasser. There's a total of 16. Like always, I'm going to auto hack, that way you don't have to struggle to see what the pattern is. As you'll see, like so. You can pause the video if need be.
Looks like the gravity stabilizer is inside the ship's core.
But from here we can now head back.
Hologuise detected.
Now you don't need to use the hologuise. It's not mandatory anymore. Trying to quickly go through this as fast as I can here. Alright, so from here, as you go back the way you came,
Attention all personnel. Please note that we are now on a communications blackout as we have completed deplanetization. No calls, text, or holo messages.
like before, I'm just trying to use whatever weapons I can. Trying to get rid of the dogs definitely will save you your life sometimes, as they can basically interrupt you all the time, and it's quite annoying. But as you can see, using any of your fully upgraded weapons definitely makes this area a lot easier. As you'll see. One guy still putting up a fight, huh? Alright, but from here we can now head to this area over here. I can hit my shots. There we go. So in this hallway, once I take out all of the enemies, of course, it'll be a very specific hallway, so don't worry about missing it. Anyways, so in this hallway here, you'll have these 2 crates and this ammo box collection right here. You'll have this very specific door. So what you want to do is come up to it, you'll wave a couple of times, and then once you get the dialogue, you'll know that you've done it right. It'll be right here on the map, so don't worry. Once you do that though, that will then get you the Et2 Copernicus trophy for finding Captain Quark's secret room on the deplanetizer. So from here you have the last stretch, and that will be to get across the rest of this area here. You will have to defeat pretty much most of the enemies, if not all of them. As you'll see, there is a bunch of these big guys. But as you're going through, you can work around the area. You do have to come up here and take out these guys. Otherwise, you'll have to just come back and do it later, as for some reason the enemies just won't spawn if you don't come up here and kill those 2. Really trying to just level up any remaining weapons that I can. Of course, the dogs are not going to be the enemies that I want to use it on. But from here you'll have this crank that you'll need to activate. This will activate the bridge. Then from here you'll have one last big fight with all these enemies over here. As you'll see, the Peacemaker is probably one of the easier enemies. Now, as I'm sure you've seen, right up there is a holo card pack. And this is the last couple of enemies that you'll have to fight and deal with in the game. Alright, so from here we're actually not going to complete the game just yet. We have something that we're actually going to do. So from here, what you're going to do is head up here, and here is the last Rhino card. As you'll see right here, you'll have all of the Rhino cards. So now what you can do is we are going to head back to Rilgar, and that is going to allow us to trade those cards in and allow us to get the Rhino, of course. So I'm going to do that real quick. So in order to do that, you can just take this teleporter back to the hangar, like so. You'll be right back at your ship. All you have to do is go back to Rilgar, get the Rhino, and then come back. So I'm going to skip to us going to the final boss now. Alright, so now once you've gone and gotten your Rhino, as you'll see right here, pretty nice. We can now head into the last little area here, and this will have the final trespasser that you'll have to do manually, of course. Like I said, I'm doing them on auto hack so you can easily see what the pattern is, as you'll see right here, because some of these definitely become very problematic. But as you can see, that should be the last trespasser, and once you've done that, that will for doing all of the trespassers, and that will be the Safe Cracker trophy. But just because we are in a bit of a rush, we're going to quickly go through Captain Quark like he's tissue paper. Eventually he will throw down a disco bomb that you'll have to spin and destroy. There's at least 2 of them that you'll have to go through and deal with, so do keep that in mind. You still can jump while doing this, so you're not completely screwed. But once you get him all the way to %, I lied, it was actually a third one. But once you defeat him, you'll have a very specific cutscene where Quark will have a change of heart, and that will also get you a trophy. So now we can move on to the actual last boss of the game. Alright, so once you've defeated Quark, like I said, you'll get a trophy for him changing hearts, and now you'll be on to the final boss, Dr. Nefarious. You'll have a grind rail section before you'll be at the very end. It's a pretty straightforward grind section. Really hard to fail this. Little does he know, we have a Rhino, and that is basically going to guarantee us a win. Alright, from here you'll have that cutscene, just because we like to do a little bit of trolling here. We'll use our jetpack, and that will basically ensure that we easily take out Dr. Nefarious. But there's supposed to be like a 3-phase thing with him where he'll break the floor, you'll go to the next area, yada yada yada, you know. Killed her. As you'll see, you easily defeat him, no problem. Once again, after he has his little recovery phase, he'll break the ground. You'll then come to the third area. Finally defeated him. You will then come to the credits, and you will then get the trophy for beating him on just the normal difficulty, and now we can head into challenge mode. Alright, so once you've beaten the game, you'll unlock challenge mode, as you can see right here. Now, for the basis of challenge mode, there's only 2 or 3 main things that you're trying to do here. The first one is buying and upgrading all of the weapons to their superior counterparts, and then leveling them all the way up to level 10. Once again, I'm going to show off a couple of spots while going through. This isn't going to be a playthrough now. This is just going to be me skipping to specific planets and things like that. The second thing you're also going to be trying to do is make every single enemy dance. Now, I'm going to show you each one of those individually, as that will be the most beneficial. And then the last thing you're trying to do is just beat the game or beat challenge mode. Also, when it comes to upgrading weapons, you're also going to want to get the raritanium and fully upgrade all of their individual trees. Doing so will also get you the trophy. These things go to 11, which you do have to do. So do keep that in mind. So now we're just going to jump right into it, and I'm not going to really try and talk much unless I need to specifically. And then I will also go over the multiplier, which you get for defeating enemies in a row without taking damage. And I will show you a good spot for that as well. So yeah. Alright, so the first enemy is going to be the toads. Pretty easy. The second enemy to use the Grimatron on will be the flamethrower robot. Pretty easy, straightforward. Right, the third enemy is going to be these glowing slugs here on Velden still. The next enemy is going to be the first Blarg you come across on Velden. Alright, so the next enemy is going to be the drop ship here on Velden. You'll have to kind of throw it directly at it to get it to dance. The next enemy that you'll need to use the Grimatron is the warbots here, the first ones that you'll come across. Do note that you can't get the drop ship for some reason here. But now we can move on to the next enemy. On Novalis, you'll have 2 enemies that you're going to go for, the parrot birds and then the detonator guys. These are going to be your main 2 for this planet. Alright, so the next 2 enemies we can find are going to be on Iridia. The first one is the sand sharks, and then the next one is actually the spawner of these sand sharks right here. Now we're also going to talk about the Cha-Ching trophy real quick, so we're going to head back to the start. Alright, so to easily get a multiplier of 20 on Iridia is going to be by doing the sand shark area. So what you're going to want to do is not fully complete it. You're just going to want to go and take out a majority of the sand sharks, but not defeat all of them, as that will despawn the enemies. So all you're going to be doing is just going through. You can use your sheepinator. This is also a good way to level it up while in challenge mode. As you'll see, we're slowly going from 8 to 12. Best way I found to do this is just to not go to that back corner that has the gold bolts. This is also a good way of getting a bunch of raritanium if you've also been working on leveling up your sheepinator. As you'll see, it's pretty easy to take out most of these enemies. So as you'll see, there's that back one right there. We're gonna not touch that one and instead come over to this area here. One thing that'll easily make this area a little bit easier is to just throw down a Groovatron bomb. As you can see, we easily got the Sheepinator up to level 5. And we also went from an 8 times multiplier to a 15. So now from here, what you're going to want to do is just simply quit the game and then hit continue. And then when you load back into the game, your multiplier should be still at 15. As you'll see. And then as you'll also notice, all of the sand sharks have respawned. So yeah. So now we're going to move on to the next enemy that you'll need to use the Groovatron for on Iridia. Alright, so the next enemy that you'll find on Iridia is going to be the Flamethrower Robot or the Exterminator Robot. So now I can move on to the next planet. Alright, so the next enemies that you'll find are going to be on Kurwan. The first is going to be the dogs. The next one is going to be the buff Blarg guy. Alright, the next enemy is going to be the Blarg helicopter. Alright, the last enemy that you can find on Iridia to groove a bomb is these tentacles on the train section. So now we can move on to the next planet. Alright, so the next enemy is going to be the exterminators on Rilgar. Now we can move on to the next couple. Alright, so the next main enemy is going to be the tanks on Rilgar. Also, while you're here in this area, you also want to get all 3 Amoeboids. That'll be by doing the big one, the medium one, and the small one. Using 1 or 2 will probably be the better option just to ensure that you get all of them. So now we can move on to the next couple of enemies. Alright, so the next enemies are going to be the sharks. Now you're going to have to do this twice. One of them is going to be while they're swimming. It's not very specific, but as you'll see, they'll kind of turn around on their own and like do stuff in the water. And the next one is actually going to be while they're out of water, as you'll see right here. Alright, so the next enemy that you can use is these green toads, and that will be another enemy on the Death by Disco. Alright, so the next enemy will be just up ahead as well. It'll be this Blarg enemy right here. Alright, so the next 2 enemies that you can use the Groovatron bomb on, or Groova bomb, is right here. It'll be both of these enemies who are in this container. Alright, the next enemy of course is going to be the Snagglebees. Now, as well as that, this is also one of the first areas that is best to try and level up your weapons on, as the Snagglebees can definitely take a beating and will be really good at leveling up some of your weapons. So yeah. As you see right here, pretty easy, and we still have a lot of health to go through. Alright, so the next 2 enemies that you can use the Groova Bomb on is going to be here on Gaspar. The first one is going to be the dog, and the second one is going to be the turret shooting enemy itself. Alright, the next 2 enemies you can find are going to be after you go through the door. One is going to be these dinosaurs, the others are going to be these small robots with blades. The next enemy is actually going to be this Blarg assembly bot, way over here, as you'll see right there. The next enemy is going to be the warbots with jetpacks, as you'll see right here. Alright, the next enemy is going to be the crab on Gaspar right here. The next enemy that you can use it on is going to be the Telepathopus on Gaspar. Right, the next enemy that you'll find is on Battalia, and it's these bomb-throwing blargs. The last enemy that you can get that's new to Death by Disco is going to be the tank on Battalia. Alright, the first of two enemies on Core 2 is going to be the Zircon Jr. bots. Alright, so the last enemy on Core 2 is going to be Mrs. Zircon. That will get you the next enemy that can dance. But the next one of two enemies that you can find to Disco is on Poketaru, and it is the Pufferfish. Now just from here, you can actually find the next enemy as well, and that is going to be the Poketaru Telepathicus as well. So now we can move on to the deplanetizer. One of three enemies that you can get during your first visit to the deplanetizer is the Blarg with a jetpack right here. Next enemy is actually going to be the dogs just right here. Right, the last enemy that you can get on the deplanetizer first visit is going to be the tank. The next enemy that can be discoed is the red warbot found on Kalibo 3. Right, now while still on Kalibo 3, like I said before, this area right here is still going to be another good area to try and level up your weapons at. I'm not going to do that, I'm just showing you the area itself in particular. But this area is really easy to level up most of your weapons on that you have unlocked to the Omega variant. As you can see, I'm just using my fully upgraded Rhino at level 10 to just easily go through and take everything out. But once you do defeat all the enemies, you can then just jump down into the water and die, and reset the enemies in this area to once again just farm and level up all of your weapons and things like that. So now we can move on back to the deplanetizer and get the remaining enemies that we need to Death by Disco. So yeah. So the third to last enemy that you'll need to use the Death by Disco on is here in this room, specifically on the deplanetizer's second visit. It'll be the warbot in yellow. I know it's a little bit hard to tell the difference between the red and the yellow, but they are definitely a different color. So yeah. Now we can move on to the last two enemies to earn the Death by Disco trophy. The second to last enemy to use the Groover Bomb on is Captain Quark. Then we can move on to the last enemy, which is going to be Dr. Nefarious. Right, so the last enemy that you have to use the Groover Bomb on is going to be Dr. Nefarious himself. Once you do that, the trophy should eventually pop, and then you'll be done with that. And then the last thing that you'll have to do is just simply beat the game on challenge mode. Hopefully by now you've been getting all of your weapons to level 10, getting all of their upgrades using the Raritanium and stuff like that, and using the farming spots that I mentioned before. But once you do that, that should be the last trophy, and then you should have the Platinum Trophy for Ratchet & Clank's PS4 Remaster. Now, once again, as always, I do hope that these guides are helpful or informative in some way, shape, or form. But as always, this has been Mr. Pilgrim, and I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.